You know what's weird is just how comfortable I'm becoming with cameras. Like,
Yeah.
I was literally the nerdiest kid in college. I would just think of the nerd kid, and
Yeah.
I was like that kid. And I carried that over. I started like swimming. I had my phone here, but I carried the nerd mindset into my 20s and my 30s.
Yeah.
And this is one of the hardest.
I mean, it's difficult.
It's difficult to like beat that person. And then I'm getting so comfortable with it. That's one of the most hard.
Why should you get one? But I have 7 years.
All right, so here's the reason why it's a milestone conversation. Not to put a spotlight on Joe, but it's not about any one person. But like, let's say one of you, and it wasn't T. You know, like she's sitting, and so I've seen her watch a lot of Carrie's Teyanna. So clearly, Jill's not like playing, you know, Angry Birds on her phone. Like she's here to do work, and then what that means is you're studying the professionals and the best in the field, which is Casey Neistat. And then whenever I go somewhere, Jill's always like, let's go, let's try to do it. Like if there's like a major thing, she was with me at the African American Chamber of Commerce event. That's already been an episode. So that's been working out. But if it's not something like that, the sense is there's not really anything like important, like to like capture, like to like focus on, right? And that came out today in this sort of an offhand comment in which I'm just sitting all day, as I was sitting yesterday all day, right by the desk, and Monday all day, and I'm again sitting next to her all day today. I'm like Jill, you reported, and she's like, what's there to report? And it kind of made me think a lot about a lot of things. And what I want to talk about is this idea of what we're trying to do with the law. Like this is always the question of what we're trying to do, right? And the reason why that question is not clear is because we are literally first. I think this is like you're literally people that are building the SpaceX rocket ship. You're people building the Tesla car. You're literally figuring out what no one knows how this works. Yeah? And the only people that have figured it out but forgot it was the team Gary Vee people. And even they lost it. It's such a rare new thing. It's literally like nobody knows the mechanics. How do you get people to be interested in this thing? How do you get the video crew to capture what you know to capture? So what's not unknown, what's pretty mapped out, is like the vlogging adventure model, the Casey model. You go to the cliff and you jump and you film it. You travel the world in 10 days, you put it to a soundtrack, you edit in funky ways, you meet girls with bikinis, you look like a smile, you measure the Eiffel Tower with your fingers. This, like the adventure, that's like known, right? And I think that is what people mean when they say vlog. And even Felipe, okay, given the humble budget he has, is trying to replicate the Casey model. Like you go to a new city as an American, you capture the adventure of going to the city. Okay, when you don't have that, what do you capture? When you don't have the adventure, what do you capture? That's the major, huge question mark. So I've spent literally some time, and I did not have this time spare, but I spent it anyway. I want you to watch a couple of Gary videos. I'm going to try to skip because there's a lot of them, but I'm going to try to skip, but it's going to be a little bit of watching. What else could these shows be if it could not be filmed? Have you seen like other daily beats, like early ones? So imagine.
I think it was a binge watch.
Okay, so did you watch all of the early ones?
No, not all. I think it was only 3. I didn't get to
Okay,
all.
so just try to think. Can there exist another pattern for a vlog other than this, like flashpoints, like me going to the AA chamber, him going to interview, right? And if it's not that, then it can't be filmed. There's nothing. You can't or you shouldn't. There's nothing to film there. Is that true? Or are meetings themselves interesting, even though it's just mundane daily news?
I think in this sense, it's probably what's being some of the meetings can be filmed. that's what he means by that. Because usually he does film in meetings.
Less and less. That's what I'm trying to say.
But
These
It
shows.
might depend
I
on
don't-
the content.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
No, I understand that some things just can't be filmed.
Yeah.
But I do think he could at least film that he's having a meeting,
Oh, like a B-roll type thing?
B-roll type thing.
Yeah.
You know, blank out the voice, blank out the mouth so you can't mouth, whatever the thing is. You could record the fact of the reality of running a business still.
Mm.
And that was just cut out altogether, as if like it's like a mundane like thing, like who cares? Right?
Well, I don't necessarily get that vibe. I get like the vibe
Yeah.
of like the rest of our day in Los Angeles was spent in meetings that cannot be filled. Not like it doesn't matter, but
Yeah, it's just like.
it's just
Yeah.
not like other stuff, but like there's so much other stuff that could have been filmed. Well, not could have been filmed.
Yeah, there's so much that we could have shown, but are not allowed to. Not like this
Yeah.
is mundane.
Well,
we
what
don't
about
need to
getting to
enjoy
what
it.
about getting to Los
Getting-
Angeles?
getting
The
to-
airport. Okay, getting to the car getting to the radio station.
I think, in a sense, for someone who does this every day, he feels as though that would get repetitive. You would be seeing, essentially, you'd be seeing potentially the same thing all the time, him getting the airplane, him getting off. Just like, I can understand both sides of it, but I think like there's a lot of other things to take into account, like that would add like however many more seconds, like he wants to keep them at, like it's just a whole, I think that's just a whole other thing not related in a sense.
No, I understand, but what I'm trying to say is that the reason that they're losing viewership is because they're just not doing the daily stuff, the grind, the business is slowly fading into the background. It's not a thing you film anymore. It's a thing that you maybe add some fillers here and there.
It's advertising.
Huh?
The thing that's advertised but not actually shown.
It's not even advertising. It's more like it's a Gary show, and it's less daily. It's more of a Gary show. Like it's a show about him doing big things whenever they have to have. Like the last daily was uploaded like a week ago. It's the pace is losing itself, but the content is much more like this, much more like flashpoints. Like if I go to another one, it's all flashpoints. Even like everything else is like flashpoints, and the thing itself is a flashpoint. So that's what it's become. The question is, can what I'm trying to say, it could be instead, could that be interesting? Or is it more like, well, how much of interest can there be in just the grind? Like, can you actually make that interesting? This is my question to you. Do you think it's possible, in principle, for it to be less of a flashpoint vlog and more of not like what anything else?
Yeah.
Like Casey doesn't do that. Nobody else can do that. But if you have a business that's very vibrant with a lot of things happening, and you film it and you make it about something other than a flashpoint and the different, the new, the exotic, but can the daily and the mundane be made interesting? Is the question.
Yeah.
Like who's doing it?
When I said that, I think a lot of my problem is I'm a visual person. Like, I know the content, the context is there. But, like, for me, I just feel like it's always, like we're kind of talking about the same space and stuff like that. And it's, like, hard for me to figure out a way to visually make it different. And, like, YouTube, it's not a podcast, it's not this, that. It's, like, a visual platform.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Conversations are different, things you're doing every day are different, but if it's coming from like this same kind of perspective, it's kind of hard to figure out how to like venture off from that. And I remember T and I kind of had a conversation about that, about how some of the, like, remember we were talking about how like a lot of the B-rolls kind of ended up being the same at that one point, almost
Same
just,
angle.
yeah, like when we would film in that room a lot, and then we started switching up spaces and differing stuff like that. And I think for me, I know that's something that I struggle with, just because visually, to me, it's the same, but it's not. But to a viewer, I feel like they would pick up on that, in a sense, because I know I do.
Let me ask,
Yeah, go ahead, please, go ahead.
um,
This is a big conversation for all of us. Yeah, go ahead.
are you asking how can we make what it can be perceived as boring not boring?
Yes. That's exactly what
Is that the broad, is that the general
That's the
question?
question. That's exactly the question. That's exactly the question. Right? And I think that's, in reality, what you're struggling with. It's not your unique flaw, it's their flaw. It's like, if you can answer the question, if you can find this answer, you're going to be like the next Tesla inventors. Because nobody knows how, even D-Rock doesn't know how to answer. Okay? So here's the basic framework, because I always have like a framework about everything. So there are two kinds of people in the world, right? You have two kinds of things people do. It's either mental or physical. Like you either are like an athlete or you're like a scientist, let's just say, in an abstract sense, right? So you're either like using your brain, right? Or you're like you're like, using your body, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're always one or, like, most people are one or the other, right? And clearly, like, I'm here. Problem with vlogging is that it captures the visual, obviously, right? And this is the visual.
Mm-hmm.
So what's important about this conversation is when you're trying to do a vlog about, if you're a vlogger here and you're like, okay, I want to capture an athlete, no problem, piece of cake. I'm going to capture this person training, eating, on the field, getting injured, we come from the injury, which is from his wife in the hospital, training his kid to play the next generation of sports, thinking about the post-sport future. There's so many angles to do, and they're always going somewhere. They're seeing people. They're like wearing uniforms. They're wearing, all kind, hospital casts, whatever. There's something visual to always capture. It's always different, right? This is easily amenable to a flashpoint mindset of vlogging, which is what most vloggers have. How do you do a vlog about this? That's the $1 million question. Because all the action is happening inside. Okay? I just had a thought, and even if you had a camera, that camera is not going to capture the thought. So how do you do a vlog about a scientist? Or a musician? Or a musician kind of does like external, like you can play the music. What if it's like a philosopher? Okay, someone that's like solving the world's problems, okay, or an economist. Can you even do a vlog for an economist? And because nobody knows how to answer that, almost everyone has done these kinds of vlogs. This is all Instagram and YouTube. This is all that is. Nobody's ever done this, ever. Except for Gary, early Daily Needs, which I'm going to show you. Because he's answered that question, and then he himself forgot it, or his team forgot it. So without knowing that there's an answer, how do you think there's an answer? Or do you think there's an answer? Or T,
I think
your partners too. Like, what do you think?
there's definitely an answer.
You see the challenge though, because you can't. The action is invisible.
Yeah.
The important stuff. Like gonna do a vlog about you guys editing video. Like, if you're just editing stuff in Premiere all day long, like, what's there to capture? That's the question. Go ahead.
Let us see the thought.
It's exactly right. It's exactly right. So you can't really see the thought itself. It's invisible, but you can like.
So let me ask
Go
you,
ahead.
what was that thought that you were just thinking?
I'm going to just exactly follow up on what you said. So if right, the thought happened here. My job is to either express it, or if I didn't express it in the moment, the videographer has to find a proxy that will stand for the thought.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to do this extra step, like a metaphor that to say, oh, actually, we can't capture this, but we can capture this, and that's the same thing as that, or more or less. And because of the nature of the work, it's not anyone's fault. No one's boring. No one's like a bad person. But just the nature of the work itself is the flashes, the fireworks. you seen Ratatouille?
Mm-hmm.
You see Ratatouille? The fireworks are happening on screen, like the taste buds, but that's a metaphor. In reality, they're happening inside, right? So the exciting stuff, the fireworks are invisible. Whereas here, the exciting fireworks are invisible. So this is easy. This is hard. And what this is, and there's no one answer to what this is, but if you can figure out what those answers are, what is the proxy for how I capture this using this? And what goes inside here? Then this could become an actual vlogging concept of its own. Because think of this, if you were born 100 years earlier, and you had Einstein, and you had the video equipment of today, but you could do a vlog on Einstein, would you? If you were given the option, like you would be people that would be known as the people that vlog Einstein's life. From the early days when he was kicked out of school for being stupid, as a failure, he was going to be like, you're going to amount to nothing in life. Then like going to college after it's like too late, working up, being a professor, assistant, associate, and then inventing everything. Okay. If you had that chance, would you take it? And like be known as the vloggers, right?
Yeah.
Maybe, right? How would you capture his life and make those inventions so interesting, even though they're inside here? Is what you want to ask yourself. Because you would try to convert his life into this. You see, that's what I'm saying is the mistake everyone makes. How do we make it about the pizzazz, like the travel, like the funky hair, and like the women he's meeting? Is he faithful to his wife or whatever? And is, it's a different kind of storyline from what actually is what's important about it, which is the way he sees the world and the way the universe makes sense to him, and it doesn't make sense to anybody else. And it's his model of the world that's so brilliant and it's so simple that you can explain his whole model of the world in 3 variables. And people are creating, mathematical formulas of hundreds of variables, and it's like an insane, chaotic world. And they're like, well, you can't make it simpler. Why should it be simpler? The world is complicated. He's like, no, it's simple. I'm going to find a way to make the world simple and super understandable, and I'll spend my whole life, right? And like finding those answers. And obviously, you might have to be a physics nerd to be a video person for that science. I get that. But if we had footage for Einstein's life, that would be worth billions of dollars. What do you think? Am I right or not?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But how do you differently structure your approach to this than to this?
It's like this whole company came from the brain, and now it's an external thing because all 3 of us are here. More than 3 of us are here. So with almost every, I guess, with almost every aspect of life, it came from the inside and it was brought outward.
Almost all professions are of the left kind, but almost all vlogs are of the right kind.
Yeah.
Because they're easier.
Yeah. But is your job necessarily only internal?
No. There's a lot of pizzazz into what I do, but I want us to have that answer in which, if I had nothing else other than office work, it could be interesting. It could be made to be interesting. And of course, I have a lot more and much more to be added to that. So you can have like relief for like the hard work, which is.
Okay.
But I'm gonna have a lot of meetings. I'm going to a meeting tonight, actually. I'm gonna Friday morning meeting, Friday afternoon, Friday evening. Like stuff is happening and coming down much more and more and more and more. But I want to right now nip it in the bud before it becomes exciting. I want to avoid us from polluting our mindset away from that.
Not only, you don't just want the pizzazz.
Because that should be optional. Optional.
You don't, okay, I get it. Because I'm thinking from, I'm going back to my theater class. We were talking about aspects of like Aristotle type play. Like, there's like numerous aspects of play, but the very least important thing is the spectacle. You want everything else to be more important than the actual spectacle. I get that. It's just a matter of how do you capture that.
How do you capture that? And it's not like, well, you guys are just not strong enough. Literally, nobody knows. What I want you to understand the gratitude, the gravity of the question. If you could figure this out, and I have some answers that I'm going to show you in a second, not just having you go down a blind alley that I have no answer to. I have an answer, at least an initial answer, but there's a lot more to go. But I have something I can show you now. But I want you to struggle with the weight of the problem, because if you for some reason choose not to work with me, and I hope you stay with me for life, and you go to work with somebody else and you become a vlogger for a business owner, a teacher, or a school administrator, a priest in a church, or something like that, something that's completely invisible, and that no one even think you could be a vlogger for a school administrator. Yes. If it's the biggest school system in the world and he runs it, it could be an interesting story. Like what does he do? But if it's mental, you have to know how to capture the mental. It's invisible. Do you see, Joe, what I'm saying? Do you see how the temptation is to make it into a disaster? You lost.
I'm still thinking. Well, because you were talking about a teacher or a school administrator. I was thinking, I watched a vlogger that's like a teacher, and I always think, like, what draws me to watching this person who just teaches like a fourth grade class? And I'm like trying to think how she makes, living with like grading papers, teaching.
But with that, it's Syrow in a few episodes.
Yeah, that's what I'm like trying to think about.
Well, I don't know. Maybe we should stop thinking or considering that this is necessarily boring.
It's irrelevant, because clearly I'm not bored. That's exactly the beginning of the answer. It's not boring. Now, granted, here's what I think. Here's how I think to think about this. Things that are like on the right, the visual activities, will appeal to everyone. Whereas things that are on the left, like I was describing the blog from Einstein, and your eyes are going to go a little bit, right? Maybe we have to accept the reality that the internal things, the internal blogs, can only make sense to people that are in the biz, in that world, that are physicists, who they would love to watch and think about formulas. Physics students, people that are considering physics, this is for me, will watch that blog. People that do yoga for a living probably wouldn't be interested in that blog. So I think if we say, okay, can we not have the pressure to be all things for all people?
But I feel like with that, I don't know how necessarily true that would be. Like you said, like a yoga instructor, like someone not interested in physics wouldn't be interested in Einstein. But then I think about all the vloggers I watch, and they're all things that I'm not interested in. And I watch them because their life is very different than mine.
That's because of this. It's because they all do physical things. That's the shortcut. That's the cheat. They go to different places. They meet different people.
But still.
If they're in the same place, would you still watch them?
If they were.
You were in the same place with the same people around the whole time, would you watch them for years and years?
Wait, I don't know what you're saying.
If there's people that you watch that are different from you and what they like, what they're all about, I suspect you watch them because you're using the cheat of the outward pizzazz cheat. And if they were to stay in the same place and with the same people for all the episodes of the vlog, you would stop watching.
I wouldn't say that's all necessarily true, but I see what you're saying.
But you could.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. They're cheating. They're cheating by using pizzazz as a way to spice up what is otherwise a boring narrative. I want to ask the question: can we not rely on pizzazz at all, and have that be as an optional? Sure, every now and then, but it doesn't change or diminish the value. And I think the way we have to think about that is things that are outward and pizzazzy will interest everyone. what if we lower the anxiety and the expectations and say, we can't make this be interesting to everyone in the world? Okay, then what are we trying to do? What we're trying to do is our version of the Einstein law. Not to say I'm an Einstein, but who knows? I don't know. I think everyone that does a lot has to have a little bit of like trying to think about something that a place they will occupy in history. Right? And if you had a physics interest, you would be killed to be a blogger for Einstein.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So you're talking about staying in the same place, doing the same thing.
In the worst case scenario.
In the worst case scenario. Just to make sure that I understand this, there's a show called Good Times. It was like in the maybe 60s or so. It was a poor family, a poor black family, one mother, one father, 2 sons and 1 daughter, and their best friend who lived across the street. For the most part, for the entirety of the series.
Was it a comedy?
It was a comedy. For the entirety of the series, each episode took place in their apartment. Same apartment. Maybe, as time went on, different furniture, whatever. But for the most part, same apartment. Doing the same old thing, just trying to get a better life, get to that next stage. It was on for 5 years until they moved out.
Wow.
So it was just basically trying to get to that next step of just getting out of the ghetto, per se. Is that the sort of, like, the same thing?
Yeah.
Not necessarily the same thing. Of course, the daughter was trying to get married to, like, numerous people. Like, she had numerous boyfriends who were, I guess you could say, their ticket out of the ghetto, so to say. But, like, just trying to make a better life for themselves. Like, the oldest son was an artist who just, like, made paintings and worked with advertising.
So there's a meta story.
Yes.
That's the point. Each episode may not tell you what you're saying, how they're trying to get out. It's just like a micro molecule of a larger story. But if you see the full arc, but like, what if you're Hindu, okay, Indian, living in 2018, you might not be interested in that. Whereas if you're African American, it's like a legacy. It's like a memorial. It's like a classic, right? Not only classic, like it's just famous, but it's also a legacy of how things used to be. Like it's a historical record. One mother, one father. That's not assumed anymore. I would assume that, and I hope you will. But many people won't. So like they assume that as a historical memorial of how Black Americans used to view marriage. Okay, that's an important. So, but if you're not interested in Black Americans, if you can't relate to that period and to that culture, then it wouldn't be a classic to you. So they made the decision to say, okay, we're gonna consciously not try to appeal to all people for all time, but just to paint our narrative and appeal to people that can relate to us. And if they don't, then that's okay. There's other shows for them. That's perfectly fine. We're not about upsetting anyone. So I think what Casey does is Casey cheats with the pizzazz and all the great bloggers, the Paul brothers, etc. All they do is just pizzazz for that pizzazz, right? You never see the Paul brothers team editing a Paul brothers episode, because that's what they do. The people that are the butt of the jokes are the editors. They are the ones that produce their show. It's not like Jake Paul is sitting there editing. He never does that. He just captures it and then they edit it, and then he plays pranks on it. But they're almost like a cast in the show, but they are also the engineers of the show. So you never see the boring stuff of the show. I wish somebody would capture that behind the scenes of the behind the scenes, So yeah, like that.
Specific audience.
And just not try to be all things to all people. So if you are a musician, maybe you would watch our blog, right? So who is?
Yeah, I was gonna say, who is our audience then?
Right. That's a very interesting thing, because you see a lot of musicians look up to Gary Vee.
Only the entrepreneurial ones.
Okay.
Only the ones that are interested in entrepreneurship.
Okay.
So it's the audience. He knows the audience. If you're entrepreneurial, people that are entrepreneurial, every field of life will
Okay.
be drawn to.
I get that. Okay.
But if you're not entrepreneurial, as I know people that aren't, like, do you think Trip will ever watch Gary Vee for more than an episode or two? No. It's just not what he wants. It's not what he's interested in. Most of our peeps are. So Helen would never watch. Only like as like a fun, like he's just fun and quirky, but nothing more than an episode. Like we think he's that great because he matches our interests. But many people don't watch it. And never will.
Yeah, he says that. I was watching an interview yesterday where he talked about that.
He's not upset about that. He's not
Yeah,
like,
no.
I need 1 million views or else it's a failure.
No, he was like, what was he saying? It was like one of the most recent podcasts he did. He was talking about how he'll be like the most respected by like entrepreneurs ever, but no one will know who he is because like a very, I don't know, I forget what it was, but
No one else.
Yeah.
Outside of that world.
yeah, we'll understand. Yeah,
When you don't have to go wide, you can go deep.
yeah, because he was talking kind of about this yesterday, or in whatever video I was watching yesterday. About, well, he was talking about how he doesn't buy like watches and stuff like that, you know, and then he went on that whole tangent that he usually does, so you know what I'm talking about, but stuff like that. I mean, you can kind of compare it to that, obviously.
And the reason that could be cheap is like that could be the pizzazz, the new watches and like the Lambos or whatever. It could easily become a Tai Lopez, right? Tai Lopez is a classic anti-Gary Vee. There's no steak and all sizzle. Gary Vee is all steak and almost no sizzle.
Tai Lopez is silly.
Right. So he could easily become that, but he actually is refusing to have any pizzazz at all because he doesn't want to have that legacy of cheating. He just wants to be all right. Now he's a little bit backsliding because I think he doesn't watch his own. I think his team's getting tired. I think they're leaving as well. I think there's like almost no. I don't know the facts, but it sounds like there's almost nobody in the video team. He just produce videos.
I just feel like I get bored with those videos.
With his videos?
Yeah. I feel like he just pushes out too much and it's just all like sometimes he'll say something that'll catch me and I'll
That's because you're not
watch
interested
it.
in a life.
Yeah.
That's exactly. I can watch his stuff
Yeah.
forever because it's 100% overlap with me. 100%. Who's your favorite writer of all time?
Like author? Donna's Hart. She wrote a book called The Gold. And she won the Pulitzer
How old is
Prize years ago. 30s.
If she were vlogging right now,
Yeah,
would you watch every episode?
probably.
Would
Yeah.
you be like tired? Like I'd probably be tired. That's because it's not my thing. But
Yeah.
you would watch every one because you would absorb everything you could possibly absorb.
That's true. But I get that, but then that's just I feel like it's a very situational question. Because that was like me with Casey. I love Casey Neistat, but there was a time when I just stopped. And there was a time where I would every day at the same time he'd upload and make sure I'd watch the video. And then I just stopped because it got boring.
Yeah, I also helped Gary for a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there is a saturation point. That's
Yeah.
it's not a matter of lack of overlap. It's a matter of saturation. It's different. Like I used to get tired of the same thing.
Yeah.
And then I took a break for a few weeks. Now I'm back on.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so you might stop watching this author's
Yeah.
blog for like a month just to give it a break. But then you know that whenever you get back into it, you love it like you never left.
Yeah. Okay. I get that.
So we're not at that point of saturation.
Yeah.
But even close.
Yeah.
Right? We're at the point that we're trying to be Casey, but we don't have. That's not our thing.
Mhm.
We're not external. This is an external blog,
Mm-hmm.
and nobody's given us a blueprint for how to do the eternal because we're the first ones. We're the second ones actually in history. In history, the two of you and we are the second team in history, perhaps. Let's ask this question. And in 10 years, everyone's going to know the answer, but you'll be the famous ones that figured it out. I think the answer has to be with the proxy for the brain of thought and accepting the niche. Just accepting that you're in a niche and not trying to please the low-hanging fruit of other niches. Just please your hardcore fan. Like, who are your peeps, and just please them and give them what they want.
Can I see the example that Gary Vee was
Yes.
talking about?
Yes. So now is the right time to show you, because I spent some time like finding the ones for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so the audience for Gary Vee is like basically me. Okay, even less like you guys, because you're not trying to build from scratch things that are almost impossible to do. But like I'm literally fighting against such an insane and uphill battle, and this is literally made for me, and I could watch this for hundreds of hours. It's one day. Thoughts compared to the first one. And so many more views, even though there's not a single famous person. It's because they stopped doing this, or doing less and less. The brand for the blog changed from this to like a pizzazz show. That's why they're losing viewers. Like you can't watch it now to learn how to be a businessman anymore. Whereas I could watch this and I literally would watch these and like get tips. Oh, I should do this better, I should do this better, do this more. This is how you work. Oh, you have to work till 7, till 8, till 9, till 11. How do you feel when you're alone in the office and it's cold at 11 at night? Like, how do you keep the momentum going? It's hard. So it may not be as relevant to somebody that's not interested in building business. But someone that is, it's way more relevant.
Like, almost the same as Gary Vee in a sense.
Almost the same as Gary Vee, except, I mean, we could talk about the audience, and when we get down to the specific strategy, we can get to that conversation. But overall, I want to get to the overall first.
Okay, sorry.
Thoughts on the overall? I want to know what you think. Like, which do you like more? You may like the pizzazz more because it may be more relevant to you than like this, which is like such a grindy episode. They even timestamp it to show you, to prove it to you. Right? What do you think?
It's like, he's always talking about adapting to the technology aspect of things. Maybe he's just adapting to what people are interested in.
I think
Like for instance, in what year was this? 16?
2016.
2016.
You know, yeah, what you were saying, because I remember he was, I watched so much Gary Vee yesterday. He was talking.
Recent stuff or early stuff?
None of it wasn't all of it wasn't vlogs that he had. It was people that were interviewing him. I don't really remember. It couldn't have been that too far in the past. But like he was talking about, he was adapting to the technology, and he was like telling how he has to be on top of every single social media platform because he described it as like Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, all of that. That's ABC, NBC, CBS. He was saying if you have to be the star of all these platforms, but that's just him adapting to today. But back then, like he's just from that point. I think he's just adapting to what more people like. I think at this point he's just trying to please people. I don't think he's trying to.
He's failing to. He's not getting as much viewership.
But then the other thing is,
and he's not a pizzazz kind of persona. He's a brainer. He's not a muscler. He's not an action guy. He's not a traveler, and he does travel much more than most people. So he gets some pizzazz shortcuts, points. But he's mainly a thinker. And in this episode, you see like a lot more of what that looks like. And here's the other value that I even say. Only the first 4 seconds of this vlog. Okay, this is me.
I wish I did 7 years ago. I wish you got to see the last 7 years. Every day. All
That's his ambition, is to basically have a journal of his rise to fame. He's not trying to, I don't think he's adapting. His video can adapt. If you watch his own stuff, he's like, what are you guys doing? You're messing up with the theme of the vlog, which is to do this. So that in 2049, so that now if you could watch your author's vlog 20 years ago, like you could watch it exactly, not the fake watches and meetings, the pizzazz, but like when does she get up in the morning? What does she read to get inspired? What does she go to school and what does she learn? Was it like stuff that she brought up her knowledge later, or did she have like a crazy crisis that then she recovered using the thoughts from the novels are the way that she recovered? That arc is gone. It's lost. It's over. It's as if it never happened. But if you capture it, it's there forever. The question is it interesting? Is my moment, chance running into somebody, is it valuable in the grand scheme of things? That's the question. Right? Like the pizzazz stuff maybe is valuable to everyone. You may think like it's kind of interesting to the world. He went there. But Tripp came over to ask me, is that important enough for my time as videographer to capture? That's kind of the trade-off. And I think you guys are always choosing my time versus the unimportance of that chance encounter. But how important was Einstein's brushing his teeth, at 34, before he made it? It was important. And if somebody were there that was a physics blogger and they captured it, maybe he brushed it in a way that made him think of some formula. I don't know. So this stuff doesn't appeal as much to a non-business audience. But that is his audience, is the business people. And the ones that were business oriented loved it. And when he lost focus of that, this one is 80 without any famous people either. So I want to hear some thoughts. I'm just kind of talking myself into this. It's important for you guys to sort of give me your thoughts. Or is it too late for any kind of conversation?
I mean, I see what you're saying when you say like you could watch this stuff like all the time, no matter what. But I think that's just like his I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm doing a lot of thinking right now, so yeah.
It's not just his persona.
Yeah.
It's also the meta arc of the story that across the 5 seasons. It's not, maybe that's the mistake, because you're only watching Casey Neistat, and he's got a story within each episode. And he can believe he does that. And maybe we can have like a minor story, like Morning to Night, or some sort of micro story. But it shouldn't be that much of a demand to have a story in every episode, like something different. And maybe that's too much of it.
I feel like sometimes my loss just personally with his videos are because they just seem like what did these clips like correlate together? Like I know like from each section you can take something from it, but I just feel like he just throws stuff in there.
Yeah, they could do better weaving there.
I think like I'm not saying there has to be a story with every video, but you kind of just are like. That's when I start to think that each of these videos is the same, because it like follows the formula and then it doesn't. Like it'll be like, oh, I have an interview, I have a business meeting, and then like this is me walking there.
So if you could weave a narrative, so clearly like if we did this well, we could do something better than they're and they stopped doing this, so like we're gonna be the ones like it's some sort of everybody's. But if you could weave a narrative across 2018. And not be too pressured to weave a huge narrative per episode, but like have a meta narrative.
Yeah.
And then ask me, like, if you can't capture the footage for it, like, ask me to fill in, like, voiceover, or what's the narrative now? Like, where are we along the line?
Yeah.
Make me be the storyteller. Like, where are we? Like, there's times when I'm depressed, like, I can't do the work, or I don't want to. I'm like, and you'd be like, hey, James, like, what's the success story now? Like, I'll say, I'm feeling crap. Like, I don't want to talk about this. Like, turn the camera off. Like, I don't want to have my failure captured on video. And yet I do want to have failure. Because that's what the story arc is. The story arc is you fail so much that you succeed. Like, you know, it's not PR, it's not fake, it's real, right? So I do think there's an open room for an even better storytelling. They could do better, but now what's happened is they lost the storytelling. They never had the storytelling in the macro. They lost the storytelling in the micro. Like the first episode had no storytelling at all. It was just like a little keynote for 90% of it. If we could do micro stories here, and it's not. This doesn't have to be, in our case, the James show. Like I don't want this to be all about me, but maybe like go and talk to Anna. Ask her like what she's working on. I don't want to put her on the spot, but like maybe. No one knows how to do this. We're literally being asked to figure out like the next level. No one has it. Like Casey doesn't have the answer for it. He only knows how to do the pizzazz. He's mapped that well. No one knows how to do the other half. But Casey doesn't matter in the world. That's what's important. It doesn't matter. What he's invented captures people that don't matter. The people that matter, that are building, that are inventing, that are solving, nobody's capturing. Nobody knows how to capture it. That I took too far overall.
This is a visual medium. How do you? Because it's like. Remind me really quickly. What is What does this represent?
That
The in between.
that's so. If we can't show what's in the brain, we need to show something else. That is visual. That's out in the world that you can.
So realistically, that's the B-roll.
I don't know what it's not necessarily what would be. It's the proxy for the thought. Kind of like when he furrowed his eyebrow in profile, like the thinking man, like the thinker.
Yeah.
That's a proxy for thinking in the statue. The famous statue is the image of thinking is in the statue. So to my mind, the businessman, like the look of a man that will go to insane lengths to build an insane dream, is captured in that profile with those AirPods looking at a screen focused. Like to me, that is the image. That's the proxy for the thought inside the brain. So that empty bubble is the proxy. There's not only one thing. There's an array of visual things that you could show that stand in for the thing you can't show. What?
A visual.
Something is the visual medium. You have to show something. What can you show? In the Gary Vee stuff, there's the profile, there's the look, and then there's the succession of the timestamps. And then the visual of the morning to night. Like you come into the show, it's like bright and blue, fresh, and you fade out, it's like dark at night. It's grainy video. He looks tired. That's a visual metaphor for hustle, for energy, for commitment. That's the commitment. If you want to explain commitment in a visual way, if you're converting an abstract idea into a visible thing, it's a video that takes you from morning to night.
Gary has a visual representation of the hustle. You want a visual representation of what is in your brain. So I guess my question that I want to flesh out is what exactly is in your brain.
It's not one thing, right? It's
If you were to put it into a sentence, or give me 3 things.
okay, 3, perfect, right? One is hustle still, no doubt about it. That's a key part of it. I.e., and I guess you can call that commitment as well. The old way used to just be called commitment.
Forgive me if I spelled it right.
Commitment. You can slash hustle if it's like a shortcut for you.
I know how to spell.
Hustle. HUSLLE.
Nice try.
All right, hustle, right? That's number 1. The second core thought, right, is idealism. And maybe that's the 2. Does he have more than one? Is it just hustle?
I mean, you can apply hustle to anything really.
But if you could extract one word from Gary Vee, would it be hustle?
I would say entrepreneurship.
Isn't that hustle?
Not necessarily, because I don't know.
I guess you could hustle and just be a scientist or be
Yeah,
an
you
employee.
can hustle and
It's
be
true.
a musician.
Correct.
You could hustle and be a banker.
Okay, so we should put in entrepreneurship for me as well then.
Okay, yeah.
And then the 4th thing I got it is love. Like I could be idealistic and I could be hustling and I could be an entrepreneur, but I could also be an absolute jerk, like Steve Jobs was, to like get the most out of you and then throw you away and get somebody else in here. But that's the opposite of what I want to do. So love is a core part of it. So that's it. How do you show those 4 things? That's it. That's exactly, if that's inside the brain, that's inside the brain.
We're getting better at showing these 3 things.
Wait, which 3 things?
Hustle, entrepreneurship, and love.
Okay, yeah.
I would say this is what.
It's not just that you're getting better. You're getting better at the same time as you're thinking that it's not as important. That's the reason for this conversation. My fear is the importance for showing those things is diminishing in your minds because it's not as pizzazzy as me going somewhere. So unless I go somewhere, those things in themselves aren't interesting enough. So you're actually the best. I've seen you and maybe like beginning to be like real serious expertise in showing that stuff, but you're also diminishing your own estimation of those things. You're better at them, but you value them less. Yeah, we see some hustle. Okay, we've seen that before, right?
Yeah.
What's the big deal about that? Okay, entrepreneurship. Yeah, we come in every day, every other day. Like we know it. Like what's the fun? When is the fun part going to start? So you do capture them well, but they're not as important as they used to be when they were fresh. I want to get focused and I want to have more clarity on like what we're trying to do. Because part of it is I also feel frustrated that I can't deliver the pizzazz. That's the biggest benefit of this conversation. Is like I'm like, how do I get like how do I start to do more fun stuff so they are interested in the pizzazz stuff? And I'm like, wait a second. I just don't. And I think I will much more and I have been much more, but it shouldn't be about that. And then I'm like, wait a second, Gary Vee was anti-pizzazz. So let's go to early Gary Vee. And I'm like, wait a second, this early stuff is so different from the late stuff. That early stuff is what I want to do. And I want to distill into an even better version than he did. And then if it's a matter of like, maybe you'll just be tired of showing this stuff, like it's just human nature, we'll work around that. We'll get interns to like do the tires and stuff. Like we'll find ways mechanically to work around it. You don't have to be always chained to the project for the next 5 years. Maybe you will be the lead, and you can take a break and have somebody else film it. So we'll find the mechanics, but what are we trying to do? That's my question. So can you make a show about those 4 things and make it interesting? Not about the travel and the clothes, but about ideas. And make it interesting to have people that want to see those things, tune in. Because I promise you, nobody is even close to expressing those things in the visual format anywhere in the world. So we'll have a big audience that's looking to see this. Right? For example, think of all your church friends. Like, they may not be interested in business, but they may ask, like, can a love-based worldview succeed in today's like cutthroat culture, right? And you're like, oh yes, I work in a company and we believe in that. Okay, show me. Like, okay, you talk the talk. Like, I don't believe. Like, you're just making stuff up. And then you put on an episode. Here you go. Episode number 940 of the podcast. And then, like, I want Sammy, just like he wants to have had this from the beginning of his life. I wish I had it from the beginning, but I'm not going to go in the past. Moving forward, like, I want to have a record of this. I do. You know, what if T gets like long flowing hair in 2 years, and we'll capture her with the afro before? Like, it'll be a little fun story, and like how Daddy for Sammy has been building his business. Like, it's a cool story in 20 years. Like, and we're missing it. We're waiting for something else to come around. It's more fun.
And that might be another thing. We might be thinking
Legacy.
micro
Legacy.
sense.
Yeah. Like you
It's
said.
still young.
Huh?
We haven't even crossed the 1 year mark.
Of course.
And the funny thing is, I feel like I've seen all of this in different mediums, whether it be music or television or movies. It's just no one has done it in the vlog atmosphere yet. And then we were talking about like storytelling, like in terms of making sure that each video has some sort of story. I don't know. Because it's like every day is a story within itself.
Not,
And then like
not valuable. Yeah, not valuable to people that think it doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot of it has to do with what people think of themselves. Like, you look at yourself. Does your story matter enough to like deploy like money and like salaries and pay somebody? It's a matter of self-esteem. You're like, who cares? I'm not a nice guy, so nobody's like morning routine and how they get to work and how they feel. Like, it doesn't matter. So maybe like the 5th item I would add is legacy. And so it's not just a matter of capturing, hustle idealism, entrepreneurship, love, but doing it across decades. I think we'll do what Gary Vee set out to do and fail. I think we'll have a record of 30 years of building a business. Because the new video that I showed you is not no longer a record, is it? If we can leave a record for not get tired of it, Or like switch projects, so like if we get tired, we put somebody else on, but we keep having somebody else no matter what. That's the great project. What I'm not interested in doing is wearing you guys out, to which you're doing it because you're supposed to, but it can be a grind. Grinds are difficult. So you can say, look, like if the grind's got to me, like I take a break and do like a pizzazz project or something, or watch some Casey videos or whatever. That's fine. But that means somebody else has to be capturing the grind and believe in the same vision and be building that vision with us. Someone always has to be capturing. Right? That's kind of the goal. The camera to always be on. And we began talking about the mechanics of like hard drives and stuff. And like maybe one person can capture, one person can edit. Instead of having one person be a bottleneck that they just capture and then they edit, and we're all waiting when the other person's doing nothing. Maybe you like, you know, we'll work out the schedule in such a way that we can find a way someone can capture, some other person edits. You upload the captured footage onto the hard drive, onto the cloud, which we discussed. You missed that, but we want to have a cloud, right? So suppose you come in, you didn't even meet Jill. You came after she left. You came in, you logged in, and there's like, you know, September 12th. There's like 4 gigs of footage. You just get to work. You just go. It's from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Start editing, chopping it down, find some cool moments, put some soundtrack, bam, episode done. There doesn't even need to be a team effort anymore. Any more thoughts? We can resume later. It doesn't have to be like the fun.
It's just so interesting. Because, like, the expression of one's internal self has been expressed through so many different mediums. Whether that be music, whether that be books, whether that be theater, movies, clothing. And then I think one of the other thing that we might have to get used to is like there is no one answer. Like it changes.
But that's because the reason I'm happy, or I'm not happy, but I'm okay with that is because I have the philosophy of the 80-20. Like I don't want a 100% success story. I want an 80% success story. Like I'm happy to fail 20% of the time. I'm even happy to fail 40 or 60% as long as we get the 40 success. Like I just want something because I feel like our 40 is more than everyone else's 0. And everyone's getting a 0. So even what we have now, the purpose of our work, is already, the last couple episodes are already at a very high level. I just don't want to lose sight of what this is for. We're getting to it, and I'm catching it right in the bud. It's not gotten bad yet, but I don't want to catch it. But we have a production quality that's high for it. Just to learn how to distribute it. Now, one last thing I'll say is people have learned how to express yourself in other mediums. What I want to say is, even with writing, the most obvious way to do that is with journals. So I could do a journal, and that'll be the clearest expression of my thought. It's me writing my thought. There's just no other way there's no better way to get the thought out of the brain into the physical world. The video version of that is the selfie blog. Here's what I think of the stuff. The task you're challenged with is you don't have the selfie blog. How do you, as a third person, come in and capture that if you don't have the personal journal in front of you? Create that journal as a third person, as an outsider, not as inside the brain. Like suppose you had a journal that you wrote about your life, and you hired me and Jill to create a vlog about your life, but without me knowing what your actual journal said, right? Figure out like what you like, figure out what your parents are all about, figure out like if there's a boy situation or not, why not, school situation, friends, ambitions, how classes are going, like professors that are inspiring you. Who is like, everyone's got like one or two professors or teachers that will, out of like hundreds that they've encountered, one or two will shape their life in a huge way. I had my one or two. Maybe we'll capture the one or two in our vlog of you, right? And they'll be world known. In 30 years, you're the famous artist. We can show the video in which you're like, oh my God, I can't believe you said that. Like, thank you for inspiring me. But that's going to be forever captured on film instead of in someone's brain and memory, and therefore will disappear. Who inspired Einstein? It's gone. It's gone. I just don't want to have our stuff be gone anymore. This deserves to be known forever, like how this is being built. The question is, how do I get you guys in that frame of mind? All right. I'm trying to like let T like have as much runway as she can to like, as I feel like there's so much thought happening that I don't want to stop it or cut it short. I think like Jill's like, all right.
I'm like
And
thinking so much, and I thought all day. All I did today was
give me some final thoughts, and we can wrap up the conversation. Good or bad, you didn't like the conversation?
Oh no, I liked the conversation a lot. I think it was kind of something, like a conversation I wanted to have, because I feel like we haven't really talked about in a long time what the overall like mission is about doing this, and I think that's good that we're on the same page, hopefully. And it just gives you a lot to think about, because I would like have like the internal struggle of like,
What are you trying to do?
yeah, like what am I trying to do here, like, because it's like some weeks it's like really fast paced, like I'd say like the past 3 weeks were pretty busy weeks for all of us, and then this week was kind of like slowing down and stuff like that, and then I'm just like, trying to reorient myself, but yeah.
So this was a good conversation. Gave you some
Yeah.
ground.
Yeah, I wish we had like more conversations like this.
Okay. Yeah. Pull me away for sure.
Yeah, I think this was a lot. That was very helpful.
And it's going to be on live forever.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this was the talk that spawned the new genre in world media history. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe it's going to be forgotten in a few years. It's up to you guys. You're going to make it or break it. What do you think? The last few thoughts.
It's just about figuring out.
There's the overall framework of which vlogs succeed and why they succeed as an individual. Is that correct? Is that analysis correct? The shortcut is that a shortcut?
Like as to whether or not this is needed?
Huh?
As to whether or not this is needed, like
No.
the middleman?
No, as opposed to like whether the only vlogs that succeed are
There's
your.
a mouse. Sorry,
Yeah,
I just saw it run past you. I was
There's
like,
a
wait,
mouse.
sorry. It like really threw me
It's
off.
very small. It's very harmless.
Yeah. Anyway.
I know it well. It's here at night. The question to you is, what my analysis is that vlogs that succeed today only succeed insofar as they capture the pizzazz, or are built on the back of the pizzazz, the right ones, the right category. Because nobody knows how to capture the idea on the left. Is that enough? My question, that's just my framework. My question is that an accurate analysis of the media landscape?
I feel like the people that I believe capture the left, like the only way that they're able to capture it is when they just are like you know, at the end of the Gary Vee video, he just had his phone and he's just like
The selfie.
yeah,
Sure.
like that's where I feel like that's the only time where I can like feel like I'm on that level with that person. And I know half of the time that's what people just want to see, just like that raw moment. Like something terrible happens, the first thing they do is they pull their phone and talk about it. Something good happens, the first thing they do they pull their phone and talk about themselves. And it's just something about that person having the phone in their hand doing it themselves. And I feel like sometimes that's how I have a disconnect with Gary Vee because to me it seems very impersonal. Like
Yeah, that's true because you don't have the values overlap because you're not trying to build a business. So,
Yeah.
so that's the tricky part is you have to make a movie that's not for yourself.
yeah.
You wouldn't watch it after you made it. That's the key.
It's hard to like
very hard. Very
it's hard to like
You wouldn't watch the movie you've made.
yeah.
That's the trick.
Yeah.
Because unless you're making a movie about someone like you,
Mm-hmm.
having made it, you wouldn't then watch it.
Yeah.
It's not about someone like you.
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
You have to like separate yourself from the audience you're targeting. You're not making it for audience like you.
Yeah.
That's the tricky part. Right? Gee, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's write that down as the last thought. Is in green, right? So let's say something like, how do we phrase this? What I'm trying to say is, you're making the movie, or you're making a video in which you yourself may not watch afterwards. You're not the audience. Since say you're not the audience. And put it in like a bracket, this whole sentence. Is that helpful?
Yeah.
Just think that?
Mm-hmm.
Because then you're like, well, why am I not invested?
Yeah.
Because it's not meant for you. There's an audience, and that's okay. And you can learn what the audience likes without necessarily being the audience. So when you feel a disconnect between Gary Vee and you, that's nothing. There's nothing wrong with that. But you would still be on team Gary Vee, wouldn't you? And you would know how to execute that video, wouldn't you? That's all. So, well, let's cut it short here. I'll take maybe you'll take a photo of this.
Yeah.
And we'll post it on the video channel for us. Thank you.
Yeah.
Cut it short, he said an hour later.
Actually, an hour and a half.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's not nice.